India is in a strong position to emerge as a strategic export platform for many global markets in the years ahead across a range of industries, and has particularly benefited from significant shifts away from China as an export platform for the US. Indian goods exports to the US rose by 44% from 2018 through 2022, an increase of $23 billion, while US goods imports from China declined by 10% in the same period, as per a recent report by the Boston Consulting Group. To discuss this report further, we are joined by Ravi Srivastava, Global Leader Operations Practice at BCG and the co-author of this report as well. Thank you for joining us and thank you for your time. To begin with, could you take us through how was the study conducted?
Yeah. So maybe Sakshi, just to describe the context, if you see over the last 5 years, there have been many different forces coming together that have led to big shifts in the supply chain networks and how manufacturing is happening and how goods are flowing across the globe. There's been the global pandemic, there have been disruptions to the supply chain, natural disasters, the war, and of course, many geopolitical changes. And in addition to that, there have also been changes in fundamental cost competitiveness across different geographies. So the objective from our side was to understand how is the overall, what has been the impact of this change and how is the landscape evolving for the future and likely to, what are the trends that are going to continue going forward. So that was the objective of looking at this. The top line finding for us, Sakshi, is that there have actually been significant changes. So 90% of the executives that we spoke to, for example, in North America, said that they have moved a part of their production network across geographies within the last 5 years. And that they will continue to do so going forward as well. Within this, the geographies that are emerging as the key export powerhouses are, of course, India, but also countries like Mexico and then the entire ASEAN region. And there has been a trend away from China. So even if you look at goods exports into the US, China has declined by 10% over the last 5 years, while Mexico has increased by about 18%, India has increased by about 44%, and ASEAN has increased by 65%. So you can see the impact of some of these changes already playing out in the global trade data.
All right. Now, the report states India has particularly benefited from significant shifts away from China as an export platform for the US. You've also mentioned this, of course, briefly, but could you explain this further to our viewers?
If you look at the trade data, the US, the goods exports into the US from China declined by 10%, while in the same period, the exports from India increased by 44%. So, of course, the relative size from China into the US is still much larger. But if you look at the trend and the growth rate, you can see that difference. So, obviously, India has benefited during this period and is starting to gain a much higher share.
All right. Lastly, which sectors in India are witnessing this uptick in manufacturing?
I think many of the mechanical machinery, auto components, and actually quite a few discrete manufacturing spaces, Sakshi, India is advantaged. Frankly, I would think there are many sectors where we have good advantages from a cost competitiveness perspective. We have to make that advantage count. I think some of the things that are also adding on or working in India's favor are a large domestic market, which actually gives good scale to manufacturers and global companies, even to serve the Indian market, and then, of course, to export out from here. There is a very strong talent pool, given the number, given the labor pool, the managerial talent, the engineering talent that is there in India. Actually, the quantum and magnitude of that is higher than many other geographies. And frankly, I think just geopolitically, we are in a very sweet spot right now, which, of course, is very helpful. And the government policies and incentives are certainly creating more tailwinds behind the manufacturing growth.